Hey, what is going on, everyone? It is Yaboyrocklee, and we are jumping into a Warhammer video. Today it is the Great Crusade explained by the homie Major Kill. If you guys have content to recommend, use the pinned comment on my videos to suggest things. I guess people skip this part because no one really does. They post everywhere. Just for organization's sake, man. I do take notes. If you guys see me typing away, there's that. We're trying to get this channel here to 20,000 subscribers. So if you like listening to stuff, please take a moment to listen. Anyways, let us jump into the video.
Guys and gal, when you think of the word crusade, what springs to mind?
Christians.
A war of faith, the purging of heretics, or maybe a genocide of religious minorities.
Yep.
You definitely wouldn't think of oversized, roided up super soldiers killing aliens in space at the directive of a golden atheist wizard. I mean, I guess if you're a Warhammer fan, that's probably the only thing you think about when someone mentions a crusade, but that's besides the point.
That's actually pretty funny.
Recently, we've been covering the chronological lore of the Imperium of Man, having a look at the Dark Age of Technology, the Age of Strife, the Unification Wars. Next up on the come train is naturally the Great Crusade.
I'm out of order, but it's going to be okay.
To reclaim its shattered empire and usher in a new golden age of mankind. A period of time rich in lore, with a vast variety of unique and interesting Xenos, as well as a good look at the Primarchs when they were actually interesting, and not just a bunch of ass-kissing smelly moths or angsty tryhards. I say that statement with love, but the good versus the bad dynamic that 40K has recently found itself in is way less interesting than the 50 Shades of Grey that the Crusade offered.
Ooh.
Before we get started, fuck John Barilaro.
Why? Oh man. I'm not on my YouTube premium account.
Free Christo. Today we're going over the Great Crusade, who was involved with it, what it achieved, and then I'll highlight the interesting parts.
My bad if you guys get hit with ads.
The Great Crusade was vast,
I'm not
and
on
there
my
was a shitload of lore involved.
Just real quick, I have YouTube Premium. I do not use ad blockers as a creator. I can see the importance of not doing that. Honestly, you get more money through the ads than people watching you with YouTube Premium. But hey. But I don't use ad blockers, and I think if you like your creators, I know we fill it with ads, man, but it only is possible with the revenue. So that's my stance.
With it, it tends to happen. You know, we got 18 legions to keep up with, so I won't be able to cover all of it, but you'll get a pretty good idea of what's going on. Let's get into it. The Great Crusade kicks off towards the later part of the 30th millennium, just as the Unification Wars came to a close. There was a bit of an overlap.
I gotta watch Unification
Wars.
Wars.
Cheeky dogs kicking up some rebellions on Terra as the Great Crusade was beginning could be considered part of the Unification Wars still. Regardless, mankind's ascension back into the stars had begun, and it had a bit of a rocky start.
That's dope.
See, the Emperor had wanked his holy cum into a test tube, and from that he had created 20 demigod babies called Primarchs. From these Primarchs, the Space Marine legions were born. The idea was that these super overpowered beings would lead their respective legion into the galaxy and absolutely curb stomp some bitches. Unfortunately, the Primarch's mother had a bit of postnatal depression and allowed Chaos Gods to yeet the baby Primarchs across the galaxy. Now it's kind of implied that the Emperor let this happen, as a way of allowing each Primarch to develop their own personality and traits. However, the evidence suggests that losing the Primarchs was a gigantic pain in the ass for the Emperor, who would have been better off if they didn't get flung away. Either way, the Emperor had now lost his generals before the Crusade had even begun. Good thing he still had like 1,000,000 super soldier space marines, as well as Mars sucking his dick and making him ships. Hence, the Crusade began with no Primarchs. Initially, that wasn't really an issue, unless you were the Emperor's children or Thousand Sons, of course. Most of the human worlds had suffered greatly during the Age of Strife, and didn't have the technology, manpower, or will to successfully fight off the Emperor's armies. Hence, they either put up a weak fight, or they straight up agreed to join the Imperium.
Oh,
About
that
90%
makes sense.
of human worlds join the Imperium without an issue. You obviously just don't hear about it because it's less exciting. Whilst thousands of fleets travelled in all directions, conquering or settling every world they could, the Emperor had a different agenda. His goal was to find all of his lost children and bring them into the fold. Now, I've already done a video on the war surrounding the meeting of the Emperor and each Primarch, but to summarise, the Emperor did find all of his lost sons, beginning with Horus. Some of the meetings were joyful and sweet, like when the Emperor met Sanguinius or Perturabo. Some meetings were a huge dick measuring contest, like when the Emperor met Vulcan or Lehman. And some meetings were straight up hostile, like when the Emperor met Angron and Angron tried to kill him. One of the funnier meetings, depending on your sense of humour, was when Conrad saw the Emperor and tried to claw his own eyes out. Never change, Conrad. Either way, eventually
Frickin'
each
Conrad
Primarch was
curse.
reunited with the Emperor, and they were given command over their own Space Marine Legion.
That's
As
funny.
each Space Marine was created from the DNA of a Primarch, the Space Marines saw their Primarchs as their daddies. As the Crusade pushed further out into the
Just to take a pause real quick, if you guys are new here, my current ranking of Primarchs is the homie Rubute, Corvus, Corax, Conrad Curse, number 3, the homie Fulgrim, and right now it's going to be the homie Lorgar from the Word Bearers. Ah, man, that's funny. I'm looking at my list to see if anyone deserves a change as of recently. If I had to be honest with you, oh, what happened? Am I losing power? God dang it. Looks like we just recovered. Okay. I would probably move. No, I'm fine with that. Lehman Roos is exactly in the spot. Sanguinius is probably Master Smith Leving Ferris. Yeah, actually, I would move Sanguinius right above Ferris Manus right now. Yeah. Yeah. So you have your favorites, and then you keep learning more lore, and then you start changing some things, man. You start changing some things. So here we go. You gotta love the dick measuring contest at Lumen Roos, and the Emperor. So he's gonna hold his spot for now. Khan, you know what? Even Khan, bro. It's like, what have you done for me lately? My boy Sanguinius has that history. So here we are. It's tight. That's what she said. All right. I'm pretty set on this. All right, let's do it. So what do we got? We got Rabute, Corvus, Conrad Curz, Fulgrim, Lorgar, Lehman Roos, Sanguinius, Khan, Ferris Manus, Regal Dorn. Top 10.
The darkness of space, and more Primarchs were added to the roster, its momentum accelerated dramatically, as its resources became nearly limitless. However, this began to create a new problem. The Crusade was beginning to push into various Xeno empires. Now, whilst most of the shattered human empire was full of pussies and pushovers, the Xeno empires were ancient and very powerful.
There you
they
go.
had technology that often far surpassed the Imperiums, and they also had some wacky-ass abilities. There were 2 Xeno empires that made humanity be like, oh shit, oh fuck, oh no. The first was the Hadur, who were these creepy blob creatures that could accelerate your aging. The more Hadur there was, the quicker you age. This caused guardsmen to age 100
Hadouken. That's hilarious. This is showing my maturity.
The first was the Hadur, who were these creepy humanity be like, oh shit, oh fuck, oh no. The first was the Hadur, who were these creepy blob creatures that could accelerate your aging. The more Hadur there was, the quicker you age. This caused guardsmen to age 100 years in seconds, whilst even some Astartes succumbed to the effect. One Space Marine was aged to about 3,000 years old, and he survived, but yeah, he was not in good shape. Perturabo fought and killed a lot of these bitches, and after all that, he noted that he felt older. Considering a Primarch literally cannot age beyond their prime or die of old age, this is a huge props to the Hadur. However, the Hadur were just the cum stain on a hooker's corpse compared to the Rangdang though. Now once again, I've already covered the Rangdang in a different video. Fuck me, I've made a lot of videos. But this Xeno Empire was so powerful that it straight up nearly ended humanity. The Dark Angels, who were the #1 legion at the time, were given a bunch of fun genocide tier toys by the Emperor, but they were still nearly exterminated by the Rangdang, and there are strong theories to suggest that the Rangdang played a major role in at least one of the lost Primarch's demise. The Imperium finally beat the Rangdang when the Emperor had to play Pokemon with his big ass shard of the Void Dragon.
What?
That's right, the Emperor had to throw a literal god at the problem to fix it. My lord. Outside of these 2 Xeno empires, the rest weren't so bad. The Eldar were around.
Void Dragon is one of the Catan. I think I got that one memorized. I'm pretty proud of myself. And so people just have shards of this stuff. They just throw it out like a Master Ball. That's cool.
And often provided a good fight, but they were few and far between, whilst the Orcs just got their ass kicked time and time again. The Tau, Tyrants, and Necrons also weren't a thing yet. There were some pretty cool Xeno and human empires that the Imperium ran into and had to murder. These included Human World, who thought it was the original Earth and had their own version of the Emperor, Psychic Xeno race that had members that were millions of years old, gigantic evil space spiders, and a civilization of humans and Xenos living in harmony that fought the forces of chaos. There's a lot of really cool shit that happened in the Great Crusade, and there were numerous times where the legions and their Primarchs faced destruction. As the Crusade ground on, and the Primarchs grew more confident, or in most cases more retarded, various issues and cracks started to appear. Angron and his World Eaters were no longer bringing worlds into Imperial compliance, and they were instead just killing everyone. Lord and his Word Bearers were bringing worlds into Imperial compliance extremely slowly.
Hey, if you live
my
in these
bad.
cities right here, why don't you own an apartment building? Seriously, let me show you a path that could absolutely change
My
your
bad.
life and
Due to Lorga trying to make the Emperor a religious icon, and Conrad lost his mind and nearly killed Rogel Dawn. Every attempt by the Emperor and his non-retarded sons ended up just making things worse. Lehman was sent to go bring Angron to heal, but that just ended in a battle between the Space Wolves and the World Eaters.
He almost lost
the
his
Emperor
son
then
too.
went with Gilliman to get Lorga to stop molesting choir boys. They did this via blowing up Lorga's favourite city. However, all that did was give Lorga the push he needed to
is
join
so
Chaos
terrible.
and sow the seeds of the Horus Heresy. Conrad was thrown in jail, and then he escaped and blew up his home planet. So yeah, there was a fair bit of shit that was starting to go sideways for the Imperium, but overall, things were still pretty good. Until they weren't. See, the Orcs had grown sick and tired of getting shit on by everyone, hence they formed a fuck-off massive wah on the planet of Ulanor. The Emperor was like, dearie me, hence he, his Custodes, and a shitload of Primarchs and Space Marines attacked Ulanor and wiped out the Orcs. So yeah, the Orcs got shut on by everyone. Again. At the end of the war,
Here's what I want to know. So the Emperor of Mankind, it is the Emperor of Mankind, or even a Primarch, doesn't really matter. Are they better on the ground? You know what I'm saying? Because I find, yeah, they're in a ship and it has heavy fortification. There's not a lot to do, right? Where and when does the Primarch matter? Does he matter when he's in a goddamn when he's on the ground? And I know someone like Gilliam, because he's strategic, even when he's not on the ground, he could command people, and his strategy is very well. But, you know, let's take someone like Lehman Roos, and he's in a ship. Like, is he basically useless, respectfully, until he's on the ground, where he can start using melee combat and such like that? And then I got people that are psych users, like Magnus the Red. I'm pretty sure Magnus the Red is a psych user. He's great on the ship, hypothetically, because he can just blast you from afar. Darth Vader, I'm gonna use Star Wars. Darth Vader, I understand. If he's on the ground, he can freaking use his force, pull a goddamn ship, sense people, do some BS. And when he's on the or when he's on it, and when he's in a fighter plane, you know, because of his force, he's mad evasive. You can't get him. So fighting Darth Vader in a small ship is unstoppable, because usually the fleet goes out, or the cruiser goes out. Darth Vader's in the cruiser. He senses someone's mad powerful. He jumps in a fighter and then goes to run the ones with you. Then you land on the planet. He goes to the planet too, and then proceeds to follow you on ground or fight a whole army or something like that. So Vader is someone who I can understand being great while he's in space, in a ship, in a fighter, on ground, all around. But someone like Lehman Roos, let's use Lehman Roos. When is he valuable? When is he not?
the Emperor was like, alright, bitches, I'm out of here. Horus is in charge. Hence the Emperor returned to Terra without telling anyone why, and Horus was chosen to be the War Master and to continue the Great Crusade in the Emperor's name. The victory of Ulanor also kind of signalled the beginning of the end of the Great Crusade, as all wars in the Great Crusade after that were more of a cleanup than anything. So why did the Emperor abandon his sons and go back to Terra? Didn't he know that they all had major daddy issues? Well, it was actually for a pretty good reason. See, mankind was progressively getting more and more psychic, which, if not handled correctly, would result in the Age of Strife Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. The Emperor needed a way of cutting off mankind's reliance on the warp, hence starve the Chaos Gods of fuel. To do this, he had to figure out how to breach the Eldar Webway, which was like a tunnel that exists in the warp but is protected from it. He would then turn a portion of the Webway into a human-compatible area, hence allowing mankind to travel around the galaxy via the Webway instead of the warp. On top of this, mankind could set up great cities in the Webway that would be completely untouchable by the warp. To finish this project though,
like the Eldar
needed to be there in person just because of how awesome he is. The reason he kept this a secret from his sons is twofold. Firstly, the more Primarchs that knew meant there was a bigger chance that Chaos would catch on to the plan. And secondly, the navigator houses of the Imperium, as well as all the industries that rely on the warp travel to make money, would flip their shit and likely try to kill the Emperor, or at least sabotage his project, which would suck. Well, once again, this plan backfired,
like the oil companies,
and Chaos found out.
That'd be like you trying to make clean energy and you didn't want to tell the oil companies because they'd assassinate you. That's crazy. I get it.
Anyways, you know, for an old, wise as fuck fortune teller, the Emperor has made some pretty brain dead mistakes. With Horus as War Master, everything was okay for a bit, then rapidly went to shit. Perturabo destroyed his home planet in a fit of rage, numerous Primarchs were MIA, and Fulgrim started smashing drugs. The Emperor had also banned the use of Psykers to try and keep his sons in check until the Webway project was done, but all this really did was piss off Magnus and cause more problems down the track. Eventually, through the manipulations of the now chaos-aligned Lorgar and Erebus, Horus gets stabbed by a poisonous knife and nearly dies, only living due to him turning to chaos. This officially marked the end of the Great Crusade and the beginning of the Horus Heresy, although the Primarchs were still crusading for the most part, whilst Horus quietly turned half the Primarchs to his cause. The first part of the Horus Heresy was so successful for Horus due to all the loyalist Primarchs being divided and crusading elsewhere. Horus could also command the loyalist legions where to go, as they did not yet know he was a total dick. He sent the Blood Angels to a demon-infested world, and he sent the White Scars away. It's actually pretty funny that the traitors didn't win the Horus Heresy, considering the disgustingly huge advantage they had at the start. Now, I've already covered the Horus Heresy in both normal format and ASMR format. I'm not sure why I did it in ASMR, but if that's your vibe, then go for it. As such, I'm not really sure where to go from here. Maybe the Age of Apostasy, or maybe the Scouring. We'll figure it out. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be.
That was a good video. That was a good video.
Only $1 per month give you access to a boatload of Warhammer hentai.
What did we pick up on? You know, it was, you know, kind of what I know, but, you know, you just get small little details, small little timeline. Like, I didn't realize how long the Great Crusade had started without the Primarchs in place. Like, even though it's probably been loud in front of me, I would still, if you had asked me like randomly, because certain things you don't know that you don't know until you're presented with it. But if you just asked me randomly, I would have said something like, oh yeah, as soon as Horus came, I think he was the first son, or among the first, then we started the Great Crusade. But the Great Crusade started, and we was fighting weak people in the very beginning. So that's why the Primarchs weren't really needed as much, or didn't hinder things as much. So that's kind of cool how the timeline worked out. Then, as you got 90% of domination, now you got to fight these very strong aliens, Xenos. Then you're starting to find your Primarch. They came in right around the right time. That's good writing on Warhammer's part to drag out that timeline for him. But I don't have anything to add, and it's more or less I want to watch another video, and I think I'm going to do this video on the Webway project. So, hey, I appreciate you guys for checking this out. You use the pinned comment to suggest things. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers right here on this channel. So if you guys watch content, but you don't subscribe, I invite that you guys do so. And my commitment to you guys is to keep doing exactly what we're doing at greater scale. And I thank you for supporting Warhammer videos and supporting me reacting to other people who are supporting Warhammer videos and more. I'm Yaboyrocklee, and I'm out. As always, thanks for supporting this channel. If you don't know, we do have a Patreon, and it's free to join. You can stay updated, suggest content, or vote on polls. If you're interested in our uncut and early reactions to anime, K-drama, Western shows, and movie reactions, which include exclusive reactions not found on YouTube, you can join the upper tiers on Patreon, or you can stick with the edited content right here on YouTube. We got your boy Yaboyrocklee reactions also in the description of this video. Until next time, I'm out.